I'm Hannah Phillips and I'm the new Community Ranger for Manx Wildlife Trust.
It's a new role for MWT then, I think, isn't it? What's it actually involve?
It's probably slightly open for interpretation because it's new, so I'm working that out as I go along. But it's mostly, I'm going to be focusing on working on nature reserves that are in more urban and accessible areas, so located in the major centres of population around the island. So that could be all over the island, but at the moment I've got a real focus on the east. We at the moment have really good volunteer groups set up in the north of the island and the south, and we also have our shop located in Peel in the west. But at the moment we really want to gain more support in the east because we don't have anything like that set up. So that's sort of my first task as the new community ranger.
And just give us a bit in your background. Have you sort of come from a wildlife background, or what's your actual background in work-wise?
I've had quite a career change actually, so I've always been very interested in wildlife and nature, always grown up with a passion for the environment, but I actually have just changed career from working in the theatre as a stage manager. So my undergrad was at the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts and I studied theatre performance technology, and then I worked as a professional stage manager for about 5 years. And although I really enjoyed it, I was very aware of the crisis, the environmental crisis that we're in, and as I was freelance in my spare time I would do volunteer work for different environmental charities. And the more volunteering work I did, the more I thought this is what I want to be doing full time. So then I went back to university and I did a master's in applied ecology, and then that's led me to where I am now.
Have you had a long-term interest in the environment and wildlife in general, or is it something that sort of, as you say, sort of developed in sort of more recent years?
I think it's definitely grown in recent years, but it's always something that I've always been keen on. I think, when I was a kid, it was, I liked animals and I liked being outdoors and doing outdoor activities. And then as I grew older and realised about, what's happening to the planet and climate change, it became more of a sort of passion and something that I wanted to try my best to stop. Single-handedly, no.
And were you based around the northwest, or were you sort of further south?
I'm from Bristol originally, so then I went and did my undergrad in Liverpool, and then the theatre work took me all around the country, so worked in Liverpool, Manchester, Lancaster, and then London and Bath, and all over the place really. It was good fun. It was nice to travel, but it was tiring stuff, and being freelance is difficult, and it's unsociable hours, working every evening and Saturdays, so there was that element of it as well, but also just that my interests also changed.
So quite a career change, doing something obviously you've got a real passion for now, and you were saying this, one of your first sort of targets. I'm sure you'll have lots of things lined up, but as you were saying, this sort of engaging more community, and this is looking more predominantly, the first, as you say, towards the east of the island and the sort of reserves MWT has, which are more urban rather than the rural ones.
Yep, so we've got a reserve in particular that we're looking at specifically at the moment, which is called Onchan Wetlands. So it's next to Onchan Village Green, opposite St Peter's Church. And although we've had the nature reserve for a little while, it hasn't sort of received the attention or management that a lot of our other reserves have had. But it's right in the centre of the community, it's right in the middle of Onchan, and it's just such a great opportunity to get people involved with nature, to work with the community. And so it's just something we're really excited about, and so this is sort of my key project at the moment, but it will lead to working on a patchwork of green spaces around the east. This is just sort of going to be our leading reserve at the moment.
I'm just trying to think, are there any other MWT reserves sort of in the east in that sort of area, or is that the main one around Onchan?
To be honest, it is the main one in the east. We're working with sort of different organisations and channels to create small green areas.
These might not be reserves, these just could be green areas from local councils or authorities?
Yeah, so it's not reserves right now. Onchan is our only sort of MWT reserve in the east of the island, or in the urban area of the east. But a really key change for us as an organisation is that we want to be working with lots of different partners. So it's not just about us working solely as a charity anymore. We want to be working with corporations, farmers, landowners, schools, other charities, businesses. What we're trying to achieve is going to take a whole range of people and the whole range of the community And so although at the moment, Onchan Wetlands is the sort of the only nature reserve in the east, we are working with different groups so that we can produce a lot of green areas in this urban environment.
So how is it actually managed at the moment, the Onchan Wetlands area? It's a lovely spot. I haven't been up for a while, if I'm honest, but I have done pieces up there before now, looking at the ponds and the wetlands, and I think we're looking at frogs and such like around there. Is it actually managed purely by MWT staff at the moment, or is it sort of a volunteer rota?
So at the moment it is just organised sort of by current MWT volunteers, but it's not actually got that much active management on the site, which is something we're trying to change. It needs a bit more love. It's sort of become a site that's a bit hidden away. It suffers from sort of people dropping litter and we want it to become part of the community, so it's something that people care for and want to spend time on and want to protect. And at the moment it is quite hidden away, and I was out in Douglas on Saturday speaking to people about it, and a lot of people don't know where it is because it is sort of hidden. So we just want it to become better known, people to get involved with it more, and to have a really nice community network looking after it. We have another community-led nature reserve called Balakuri in Russian, and that's managed fully by volunteers. That in 2007 was fully arable farming, and now it's an incredible nature reserve with a hide and a pond, and it's covered in scrub, and it's just got so much different species living there, and that's fully run by volunteers, and it has changed so much since 2007 when it was a farm. And so we kind of want to replicate that with Onchan Wetlands. It's quite a different habitat, but we want to produce that amazing community network and that great group of volunteers to look after it.
Do you think people post-COVID, I say post-COVID, I know it's sort of still going on, but I mean after the worst of the pandemic, now we're in an endemic situation, there's been an increased interest and appreciation of natural environments and areas like the wetlands or these other green areas you're hoping to sort of produce or to encourage people to work on around the island. There's been more interest in the general populace?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think that was seen throughout Wildlife Trust reserves all over sort of the Isle of Man and the UK. I think when we went through the pandemic, we sort of appreciated the things in our life that we maybe didn't have time for before, and for a lot of people that was their sort of nearby green spaces. We've had people communicate with us before about wanting to do more with Onchan Wetlands who do live nearby, and I know a number of them sort of discovered the site during the lockdowns when they were exploring their local area. Green spaces, whether you're just sitting and reading a book or whether you're sort of actively working to maintain them, they're so good for our well-being and our health, especially our mental health, and so it's so important to protect them. And I can see why they became so important to people during the pandemic when we were going through such a difficult time.
And you mentioned working with schools there before, and I guess this is a big element in many ways in any of these schemes, or indeed in any places like green areas or the reserves. It's this education, it's actually particularly catching people when they're young, when they're children, and actually encouraging them to appreciate the value of green spaces, biodiversity of the creatures around us. If you can plant that seed, if you'll excuse the pun, early on, then you're on to a winner, really.
Definitely, and I think kids do really love nature when they're young. Like I said before, I was in Douglas on Saturday, and it was the Bee Friendly event organised by the council, and I was meeting these little kids who loved insects and creepy crawlies, and they were telling me things about bees that I didn't know, and they were so full of information and really passionate about it. And I think it's such a great thing to sort of to grab and to channel that into this nature reserve, because kids as well come up with ideas that we wouldn't even think of. So we really want this new nature reserve, this new community-led nature reserve, to engage with all members of the community, whether that be children or people who have retired. It's for everyone. And I think previously when we've had volunteers before, because our sessions have been mostly weekdays, we haven't been able to get as many people involved as we want to. So with this reserve, we're really keen that we lead sessions, especially on weekends, but also after school, after work finishes, so that we can get everyone involved and not just people who have weekdays free.
So going forward then, this is the idea to have this area more actively managed. Are there going to be sort of more meetings? Will you be trying to encourage more people down there to actually find out more about it? How will we going forward in the immediate future?
Yeah, definitely. So because we want it to be a community-led nature reserve, we're really keen to hear from people about what they think is most important and if they've got any ideas for what we should do with the space. So as long as it's, wildlife friendly and looking after and enhancing wildlife is at the key of people's suggestions, we're really open to hearing what people have to say. Like I said, it's going to be a community-led nature reserve, so people's opinions are, right at the heart of the matter. Yeah, if you can look up my email address or you can contact Manx Wildlife Trust by looking at our website, and we would love to hear from you. I'm also going to be sort of doing a public questionnaire and doing a consultation and just hearing about what people have to say. And then once we have this plan, we'll need volunteers from the community to work alongside us to then implement these changes and sort of make it the nature reserve that we all really want to have.
So you can get more details, as you say, from the website about how to get in contact with Hannah, and no doubt about projects going forward on the Algeciras Onchan Community Reserve site itself. Looking forward to getting stuck into all these plans, because I'm sure you've got other ideas for the months and years ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's my boss Lee keeps saying that he's giving me enough work to do 8 days a week, so I think there's going to be a lot more happening. As someone who's been in my job for less than 2 weeks, I'm really keen just to just get started, and this Onchan Wetlands project is, a great start and something I'm really excited to get my teeth into. So, but yeah, there's going to be so much ahead. We're keen to be working, I'm going to be working all over the island, and I know that I've just spoken quite a lot about the East, but we're really keen to, get involved with all different areas. So we want to encourage more volunteers in Peel, because at the moment we've got a brilliant shop there, but we do sort of less volunteering activities there, so that's something I really want to get involved with. And then also I'm going to be working really closely with the brilliant team of volunteers that we have in the north and south. And people are always welcome to join those groups. We're always keen to have more volunteers because there's always plenty of work to do.
no shortage, as to be said. Go and join the muckers or the such like. Just finally, I suppose the very nature of your role, you have to a large degree be a jack of all trades. But any special areas of interest yourself? I know obviously some people are very keen on the diving aspect and the marine life. Other people are keen on birds, for example, wonderful bird life in the Isle of Man, mammals, grasses. I know I think one of the predecessors at the top of the Manx Wildlife Trust was a real grass enthusiast. Anything that really tickles your fancy on that front?
So it's a boring answer, but I mean, to be honest, I find it all incredibly interesting. When I did my masters in ecology, it was really hard to sort of work out which area I wanted to specialise in because it was just all so interesting. But I would tend to say probably birds are my main area. I think it's a really accessible way to get people into nature and wildlife, and that's how I sort of got into it, taking my binoculars out on a dog walk and seeing what I could see and learning the species, and it gets quite addictive when you sort of feel like you're learning more. So I would probably say birds is my key area. It's definitely growing. I mean, I speak to people who I work with and their knowledge is just absolutely incredible, so I always feel a bit hesitant to say that because I just think, oh well, it's nothing compared to them, but it's growing and I enjoy it, and I'm excited to learn more on the island where you have some incredible species of bird that I would probably never have been able to see at home, so it's great.
And of course, as all these things, you never stop learning.
Exactly. Oh, learning every day.